On behalf of Cunard Line, and those of us who are proud custodians of the line's 171-year heritage, it is an honour to be in the presence of veterans who 70 years ago left their homes and sailed to war on board Cunard Line's original Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth. The names and heritage of both these magnificent ships continue today with their modern counterparts, Queen Mary II and Queen Elizabeth, together in Sydney for the first time over the last 2 days for their first historic and spectacular Royal Rendezvous here in Sydney. Today we celebrate a Royal Rendezvous of two great Cunard liners, but also remember an earlier rendezvous when the original Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth met in Sydney in 1941. Thousands of Australian soldiers, airmen and army nurses sailed from Sydney on Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth during World War II, when the two ships were attached to the British Ministry of War Transport. During the war, Queen Mary visited Sydney 13 times. Queen Elizabeth was here on 9 separate occasions, and I know the special significance these ships have for you. Sir Winston Churchill famously credited Cunard Line with shortening the war by 1 year. Such was their size, speed and ability to quickly deliver thousands of troops to battlefronts where they were most needed. During the war, Queen Mary alone carried nearly 800,000 military people, up to 16,000 troops at a time on each ship, and sailed more than 1 million kilometres throughout the world. The wartime contribution of Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth was also very much an Australian story. Australian military personnel sailed on the two ships to the Middle East and to Singapore. Old photos from many of your personal collections and historic footage from the National Film and Sound Archive show you coming on board in high spirits with ever-present smiles and a little bit of Australian mischief. It's thought at least one kangaroo was brought on board Queen Mary as a stowaway mascot, according to respected author Lynette Silver, who I'm pleased to say is here with us today. And I hope and I'm sure that a few cold beers were also had on board Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth. I'm sure many memories are flooding back to our veterans here today. You have told us that your first sighting of Queen Mary or Queen Elizabeth in Sydney Harbour really brought home to you that you are leaving Australia for active service. For every one of you marching on board was a sentinel moment in your life. Like you, we know that behind the smiles and the high spirits, there was also the grim reality of war. For many of your mates who sailed out of Sydney Harbour, it would be their last sight of home. We salute your efforts over so many years to ensure they have never been forgotten. It is now possible to reflect on the human cost of all sides of a conflict that none of us would want to see repeated. I want you to know that all of you and your mates who sailed to war on Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth some 70 years ago will forever be remembered with great respect by all of us at Cunard Line. You are very much part of our company's heritage and members of a very special generation. We thank you for your service, lest we forget.
The second group salute reads, this morning will be on behalf of the Cunard Line and the veteran community. Representing the Cunard Line, their President and Managing Director, Mr. Peter Shanks, and representing the veteran community, Mr. Don Rowe, OAM, State President of the Return and Services League of Australia, New South Wales branch.
They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eyes, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. After going down at the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Karen, I've got it.
Lest we forget.
Sentries! Ho!
Whether in stormy seas or calm, whether in the face of an enemy or friend, may God, your Creator, your Redeemer and Sustainer, be the truth on which your life and death are built, your hope that cannot be destroyed, and your freedom from which love and justice flow, and the joy that has eternity within it be with you forevermore. Amen.